Hello everybody and welcome. This is my first Marvel Rivals video, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Loki and his gameplay and his game style. Before anything, I realized that I'm starting my channel, so I would like to give you guys a quick introduction. Who am I? Well, I'm a Marvel Rivals player, obviously, and I also do indie game development on the side and full-time software development as a job. I recently broke Celestial, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I was found with the quails and the ales that I would be eventually hard stuck in the pits of plat and gold with all of the sweats who can't get past plat and gold, and I thought Celestial would just be an elo for essentially people who sit around and play all day. I found this to be surprisingly untrue, so I quickly found out that there are certain ways of playing the game that allow you to both have a life and achieve your rank goals. So I originally, as a disclaimer, I want to say that I started out by maining Spidey, and I quickly realized three things. I have my indie game development on the side, which you can also find on this channel. I have a full-time job, and I have a relationship, and essentially sitting around and learning Spider-Man, which takes hundreds of thousands of hours, was going to be an impossible task for me. As a result, I found Marvel Rivals to still be the game that I wanted to dedicate all of my free time to, because I have always been a gamer and I always wanted to have some game that I play. And with that, I decided to look at the strategist roles. So yeah, what happened and how did I get there? Or how did I get to picking Loki? So it's actually Loki and Rocket as my duos for myself. Those are the characters that I like to play. I chose them because essentially there's no hard mechanics to learn, so there's no need to have perfectly crisp aim like Mantis. And the characters themselves have a very high skill ceiling. I mean, Loki more so than Rocket. And with this in mind, I thought I could achieve a decent rank. My expectations were to maybe hit Platinum, enjoy my time in Platinum while I do my full-time work and my indie game development as my primary thing. But as I played Loki, I quickly found out some things that I would like to share with you guys. The very first thing is, I would like to share my mindset on how I play the game. So, how do I think about Loki? And this is going to be kind of freeform, ranty type of video, so stick around if that's your vibe. Otherwise, feel free to drop off. I plan on doing a Loki guide at some point in the future, but this won't be a Loki guide. This will be more my thoughts about how to play the game and the overall bigger picture. But yeah, how do I think about the game in general? Let's start there. Essentially, I think everything in your character's kit has two useful options. It either helps you get where you want to go or to do, or it helps you flip a fight in your favor. Out of all the strategists in the game, I found that Loki has three win conditions, whereas Mantis might have her ult and some headshots. Cloak and Dagger has her ult and her shift, and their shift, sorry. Loki really has a third one that's hidden, right? So Loki obviously has his lamps with the shift, and he has his ulti, which can copy a defensive ulti and essentially become a win condition for the team as well. But honestly, with his clones, if you can get 3 clones on a single hero, that or on a group of heroes, that will flip the game. That will flip the fight. That turns the ability from an essential bread and butter piece of your kit to a game-winning win condition. Aside from that, I also noticed that Loki doesn't require crazy good aim. It just requires a lot of decision making and a lot of game sense. So you essentially need to have a good whiff for when things are happening, which I'll talk about in a second. So yeah, with Loki's super strong ult combined with his shift, which in my opinion is better than any other invulnerability in the game, because of the fact that it doesn't make you just invulnerable, but it also heals you for that time. So if tank is 10% HP and you lay down your shift, yes, they become invulnerable for a brief period, but also any damage that they take is instantly healed. That to me is a double winner, right? So yeah, but how does that tie into winning games, and how can you replicate that? Essentially, I like to think of the game in cycles of ultimates and picks. Those are the best ways to win team fights. You either get a pick beforehand, or you have more ultimates than the enemy team. And Loki really denies one of those conditions with his left clicks and with his lamps better than anybody else in the game. And with his shift, you can deny as many cycles as like any other strategist, if not even more, because it's AoE invulnerability, and not just AoE invulnerability, oftentimes invulnerability that will leave your teammate at full HP as well. So Loki can really break these cycles. There will be times where you think, okay, we're down on ults, so the next team fight is probably like a 40-60 or 30-70 chance that the enemy team will dominate us. But no, with Loki, sometimes a properly timed lamp will deny completely, say, a Groot ult or a Strange ult, and it really makes a big difference. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about the game. I am constantly thinking in terms of ults and picks, and what can I do to essentially leverage the percentage chance that we would win in my team's favor. One last thing that I wanted to talk about is the pillars to dominating a game, right? I think, obviously, keeping those things in mind is important, but even more so, being able to stay calm during those hectic situations is essential, because Marvel Rivals gets scrappy, and it gets scrappy really quick. So Loki's, I think, biggest weakness is his health pool. It's not the biggest, and he can quickly fall to say getting caught off guard by Bucky or by Spidey or something like this. So I think Loki really rewards not so much the mechanical skill that you have or the amount of time that you play the game, but rather your game sense and how well you're able to smell or sense danger to both yourself and the team. So it all cycles back into the idea of thinking about the game in terms of cycles. If you have a Spidey on the enemy team, you need to think, what is his cycle of cooldowns? When is his next window to potentially threaten me? And of course, there's also teammate cycles that you should keep track of, right? So you don't want to overlap defensive ults, for example. You don't want to cloak and dagger ult both of you at the same time, unless you have a good reason to do so. And yeah, it is important to think of these pillars as to how to dominate a game, right? Do you have the resources available? How can you maximize your resources? Which is another big topic, because sometimes I like to think of my clones as the essential toolboxes. So I like to think of it like this. A good clone is one that can reinforce your hits, either healing your teammates double or triple, or dealing damage double or triple. A great clone is one that can reinforce both of those. So you have a clone that is hitting the enemy and also causing splash damage, right? And healing your team at the same time. And a perfect clone is one that is both reinforcing your healing, your damage, and can provide an escape route when needed. I think as a Loki player, you must think about the game not so much in terms of what I can do more mechanically or what I can do more to outplay, but rather how can I enable my team to outplay and increase the chances that my team will do well as decrease the chances of the enemy team to mess with you, whether that be through pretending that you're a clone, or knowing if they have time and resources to attack your clones. For example, there will be teams that are super insistent on taking them down, and you have to realize and be able to identify when that's actually a boon rather than a negative for you and your team. I'm going to work on more Loki tips and more specific guides, but I wanted this sort of little rambly video because I don't really see people talk about how to think about the game and think about the macro of the game. I mean, to be fair, I don't consume the most amount of content for Marvel Rivals, but that's I think I talked about that at the beginning of the video. And yeah, I wanted to lay this out there. This is just the way that I like to think about the game, the way that worked for me, and it managed to get me Celestial in about 45 hours of game time, which I showed off at the start of the video. And yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and till next time, peace.